Taylor Swift is getting roasted by Christians for supposedly her lyrics turning to the dark side, opposing Christianity. Well, this video shouldn't take too long. I think it's funny how just even in the country genre, Charlie Daniels, Jesus walked on the water, and I know that's true. Sometimes I think that preacher man like to do a little walking too. Said preacher man talking on TV, putting down the rock and roll, wants me to send donations, worried about my soul. Hank Jr., if heaven ain't a lot like Dixie, I don't want to go, or I've looked all over hell, but heaven can't be found. Sturgill Simpson, God, can you cut me a break? Because if the devil shows up with a better deal, the soul's going down. Jamie Johnson, that Southern Baptist parking lot is where I'd go to smoke my pot, sit there in my pickup truck and pray. But staring at that giant cross just reminded me that I was lost. Just never seemed to point the way. I guess my question is, why are you picking on Taylor Swift when there's so many more examples that are very blatantly calling out the hypocrisy of religion? Now, just for the context, I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe in God. And I'm dying. I'm terminal, so I think I've got as much right as anyone to talk about, afterlife and my divinity. I think it's more about living life in this beautiful Garden of Eden that God gave us, instead of walking around like it's a damn waiting room and we're on probation the whole time. But I get it. I mean, you want to believe what your parents believe and what their parents believe, and how can this thing be, a lie or be not the truth if it's been going on that long? Well, a perpetuating lie that's been going on for a long time is, they got a long time to edit and find loopholes, which hasn't worked because, first of all, a lot of religious people are not very up on their religion, because if you don't study the other religions, how in the world do you know yours is right? Especially to go around telling everybody that, threatening their lives and going to other countries and telling other people who are already in religion and believe in God, live good religious lives, that they need to worship your God like they're different gods. Wherever you grew up is what you're going to call God. I imagine most Christian people grew up around Christian families. Muslim, Indian, Judas. I mean, it's Hindus. It's most likely the geography you grew up in is going to be the label you put on God. But all the stories are pretty damn similar. Anyway, let's see what this gentleman's got to say here.
In recent days, over a very simple social media post that you put up about discernment and Taylor Swift and her new album. What led you in the first place to post about this Taylor Swift album?
Yeah, great question, Billy. And
sorry, I had to put my headphones in. And I'll listen to anybody if they are objective. They put a good point in. I did a reaction on the Star Spangled Banner as you've never heard it. It's a great thing. It's a Christian preacher telling the story of the Star Spangled Banner, and there were many fact checkers who pointed out little things that were incorrect about the story, but they were very minute details that really didn't change the impact of what the preacher says. And the words that come out of this song, and the Star Spangled Banner is a song, and all songs are up for interpretation anyway. But I take up for him because I think the fact checkers were just ill because this was a Christian preacher. And he says at one time that the American Christian will, ironically says, would rather die on his feet than serve on his knees. But that's an ironic statement for. But anyway, I take up for the Christian preacher. And there are a lot of fundamental principles in the Bible and in lots of religious texts and religion that I apply to my life. But I do not apply them to my life because of a label that's put on top of them. But this ain't about me. See what this gentleman's got to say.
At the end of the day, it's like, I want to say this from the beginning, because I'm not an anti-Taylor guy. I think I've been kind of labeled that the last couple of days. I'm not the anti-Taylor guy. I'm the pro-gospel guy, And so I think anything that I know is largely affecting parents or Christians or people in the church that seems to really kind of be anti-gospel, I think we lovingly call it out. And so, all I did was pull out some lyrics of her.
First of all, it's bothering parents and kids and members of the church. Well, is it bothering parents and kids that aren't in church? Because I'm a little confused on what you're saying. And lovingly, you call people out when you hear them with a differing view than your own. Well, that's judging, isn't it? I mean, I'm not trying to laugh. I'm just, it's almost comical. I mean, if you're calling someone out in any way because of their belief or their own lyrics in their own song, especially music, which is so interpretive, up in the air for whatever you want it to be, to say that is not judging is just fundamentally incorrect. But
her new album and just said, hey, here's some things that seem concerning. And as Christians and parents, maybe here's some things that we need to consider.
He said he pulled some lyrics out. So I watched this whole thing. We're not going to watch the whole 15 minutes. He didn't specify what lyrics. He pulled some lyrics out. And he's not saying concerning to parents. He is. And Christians. So he himself is attaching a label. Oh, because I know what he says here in a minute. I'm pointing this out now.
And if you followed Taylor for a while, I even put this in the post, Billy. I'm definitely not the no secular music at any time guy. I'm not the one that wants to call out every single movie or TV show or artist. But if you see this journey of Taylor over time, her music has become more and more explicit and has really, for lack of a better term, taken a darker turn. And I think there's a lot of, especially girls between the age of 13 and 35 in the church that is engaging with that on a large scale. And now even moms introducing their young daughters to Taylor. And so I think we just need to be.
First of all, there has never been an institution on the face of the earth that's persecuted women more than the church. In fact, it's just been very recently that women have any say-so at all, and that's through the law and just basically civil rights within, for minorities and women who have just recently been able to have a say-so. We've never had a female president in the United States. And, there's still this wage gap thing, and there's still a lot of talk about Jordan Peterson, who I like Jordan Peterson. I mean, I like what he says a lot of times, but he seems to be really hard on women. And what he says is correct in some ways. I mean, women are more intuitive and emotional, and men are more masculine. And Sometimes it takes the man to make the hard decision. Sometimes it takes the woman to make the man understand that, hey, you're being judgmental or overbearing, or you're not being objective.
Be very aware and very careful of what we're exposing our kids to and how we're even engaging with things and being entertained by things that are really anti what we say we believe. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. And it is unfortunate to see that change in her music, right? You know, and some people will say, well, she's an adult, she's growing up. But the reality is, if you went to any of the movie theaters when, you know, the concert was out in the theaters, it's very evident that a lot of young kids and a lot of, you know, inside and outside of the church are going to watch Taylor either in person or they were going to the theater because they're interested in the music. So we know there's a young audience there. So we kind of hinted at some of the reaction. Obviously, I saw the Daily Mail. There have been a number of outlets who have covered this. What has the reaction been to your post from your perspective? And were you surprised by that reaction?
Yeah, I would say, Billy, not a lot of in the middle, one extreme or the other, you know, of like, hey, man, we agree with you. Man, I've received so many text messages from pastors, collegiate leaders, youth pastors, campus ministers at colleges and private schools. They go, hey, your post stirred up a lot of conversations and opened doors for conversations, things that we've been concerned about ourselves, but maybe haven't shared, but this opened a door for us to share. So there's been, I would say,
So nobody outside the church told you that what you said was good. Not even the people in the church. They just say, open the door for conversations. In other words, it gave them an opportunity to tell everyone that they're wrong if they're not in Christianity. I live in North Carolina, the Bible Belt, part of the USA, and I get it all the time. I love God. And I ask all the time, you know, why is everybody else in the world going to go to hell for not calling God the right name? And if Jesus and God are the same people, what does it matter what name you call? As long as you love God, why does that matter? So it seems to me that it doesn't really matter if you love God or not. It's not really about that. It's about proving Christianity is the right way. When we all know that you can get to the same destination in a boat, in a plane, in a car, if you're going, if it's possible. It really doesn't matter how you get to the destination. Lots of people do things in different ways. Some people clean their house methodically in sections. Some people do it sporadically. Some people mow the yard in perfect lines. Some people mow it in circles. The yard gets mowed either way. And well, look, people.
Overwhelming support and agreement, but there's also been some that have been really aggressive, and then some that I wouldn't even say aggressive, but concerning. And here's what I mean by concerning. I've received a lot of DMs from young people, and Billy, they open with this: I am a Swiftie. And then way down in the message, I am also a Christian, which I think is very telling. That we have our identities out of order, you know, that.
So you see, even if someone says they're a Christian, you know, you made a post about a singer and their lyrics. So the first thing the person would say is, well, I'm a Swiftie. Or else why would they be DMing you? They're identifying themselves as part of who you judged as a Christian. And then they're telling you that I am a Christian also. But that still isn't good enough for Mr. What are you, like 12 years old? With your revival hat on? That's not good enough. And my thing is, there's so other many directions you could go. The Christians preach that it's about love, understanding, forgiveness, open arms, helping hand, not judging people, and basically being open-minded, optimistic, or not optimistic, but not objective, being objective. But it seems like, to me, this is very closed-minded, and we still haven't talked about the lyrics that are for the reason for this meme. And if you've done this out of the kindness of your heart, out of a genuine concern for young ladies, seems like is your only concern. Well, then why are you on a news broadcast? Pretty sure you're getting notoriety. Pretty sure you're getting fame. And your words that you used have gained you celebrity status. Is that not what you're judging her for? You're forcing your opinion through words on someone, except you're calling someone out directly. She's singing songs. Let's give some examples here. Avenged Sevenfold. Watch your tongue, or have it cut from your head. Save your life by keeping whispers unsaid. Children roam the streets, now orphans of war. Bodies hanging in the streets to adore. Royal flames will carve a path of chaos, bringing daylight to the night. Death is riding to town with armor. They've come to take all your rights. Hail to the king, hail to the one, hail to the crown, stand in the sun, hail to the king. Blood is spit while holding keys to the throne, like the Pope said some. Born again, but it's too late to atone. No mercy from the edge of the blade. Dare escape and learn the price to be paid. Because it's no secret that Christians persecuted, tortured, and burned down cities, called them pagans, and built churches over top of many, many sacred places to many people. The taste of fear when the henchmen called, iron fist to tame the land, iron fist to claim it all. After all, they are the biggest institution in the world. They make more money than any institution in the world. They pay no taxes and they answer to no one. And they threaten everybody with eternal damnation if you're not obedient. One more Avenged Sevenfold song, Nightmare. Dragged you down below, down to the devil's show, to be his guest forever. Peace of mind is less than never. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. An old acquaintance severed, burn the world your last endeavor. Flesh is burning, you can smell it in the air, 'cause men like you have such an easy soul to steal. So stand in line while they ink numbers in your head. Now you're a slave until the end of time. Here, nothing stops the madness, turning, haunting, yearning. Pull the trigger. You should have known the price of evil. And it hurts to know that you belong here. Oh, it's your effing nightmare. So, let me make me smaller here. Iron Maiden, run to the hills. White man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes, he killed our creed. He took our game for his own need. We fought him hard, we fought him well. Out to the plains we gave him hell. But many came, too much for Cree. Or will we ever be set free? Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes, galloping hard on the plains, chasing the redskins back to their holes, the Indians, fighting them at their own game. Murder for freedom, a stab in the back. Women and children's and cowards attack. Run to the hills, run for your lives. Soldier blue and barren wastes, hunting and killing a game. Raping the women and wasting the men. The only good Indians are tame. Selling them whiskey and taking their gold, enslaving the young and destroying the old. House in chains, down in the hole, bury me softly in this womb. I give you part of me for you. I give this part of me for you. Sand rains down, and here I sit, holding rare flowers in a tomb in bloom. Down in a hole, I don't know if I can be saved. See my heart, I decorate it like a grave. Oh, you don't understand who they thought I was supposed to be. Look at me now, a man who won't let himself be. Down in a hole, feeling so small, down in a hole, losing my soul. I'd like to fly, but my wings have been so denied. Yeah, down in a hole, they put all my stones in their place. So a perfect circle. Talk. See, Maynard is very smart when it comes to all religions, especially the Christian religion, because he was attacked by a clergyman who was dating his mother, who was paralyzed. She was very religious. She held on to it to her dying day, even though the church turned their back on her. So you're waiting on miracles while we're bleeding out. Thoughts and prayers, adorable, like a cake in a crisis. We're bleeding out. While you deliberate, bodies accumulate. Sit and talk like Jesus, try walking like Jesus. Sit and talk like Jesus, talk like Jesus. It's talk. So get the F out of my way. Don't be the problem, be the solution. Faith without works is talk without works. Is faith without works is dead. That's in the Bible. Sit and talk like Jesus. Try to walk like Jesus. Try braving the rain. Try lifting the stone. Try extending a hand. Try walking your talk or get the F out of my way. The perfect circle of the doomed. Behold a new Christ. Behold the same old horde. Gather at the altering, a new beginning, a new word. And the word was death, and the word was without light. The new beatitudes. Good luck, you're on your own. Blessed are the fornicates, may we bend down and be their whores. Blessed are the rich, may we labor and deliver them more. Blessed are the envious, blessed the slothful, the wrathful, the vain. Blessed are the gluttonous, may they feast us to famine and war. What of the pious, what of the pure of heart, the peaceful? What of the meek, the mourning, and the merciful? They're all doomed. Behold a new Christ, same old horde, gathered at the altering. The word was death, the word was without light. What of the pious, what of the pure heart, was peaceful? What of the meek, the mourning, the merciful? What of the righteous? What of the charitable? What of the truthful, the dutiful, the decent? Doomed are the poor, doomed are the peaceful, doomed are the meek, doomed are the merciful. For the word is now death, and the word is now without light. The new beatitude, F the doomed, because you're on your own. So there are a lot of examples of songs that point this out. Not sure why this gentleman had to be this way. So here's another one.
Hi, I'm outside. It's 8 o'clock at night, surprisingly. Give my perspective on it. I know that a lot of people have done lyric breakdowns on Taylor Swift, on her music, to see if it is Christian appropriate, to see if Christians should be listening to Taylor Swift. I was contemplating making this video because I do know that Taylor Swift has which interests me too, that she has a very cult-like following, that if you say anything bad about Taylor Swift, bad things are coming your way. I've seen friendships ended on social media. I've seen comment sections of somebody wouldn't be someone's friend because they didn't like Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's getting crazy out there with Taylor Swift. So I thought I would come on here and share my perspective because I've been following this stuff since I was like, 11 years old, before I found Jesus. I've been so interested in the music industry, and even before I believed in Jesus, I saw the wickedness and the dark stuff that was going on in the music industry, and it was always so interesting to me. Me and my dad used to watch the Beyonce music videos and like decode them, and it was all just a bunch of conspiracies at first, like.
Has this lady ever seen the Pope that stands up there with their big wizard outfit on and a magical staff that literally does incantations and all of the horrors of male abuse that the Catholic Church, which is Christianity, that is who canonized the Bible, that's who says what books can and can't be in it. And by the way, the entire Christian religion is based on Jesus' resurrection. The first person to witness this was Mary Magdalene. All the apostles said that Jesus loved Mary more than us. Yet, her word was not good enough to be included in the Bible. In fact, she was labeled a whore and has been pretty much demonized by the church. And I just think that is, how could that be? And if the Bible is all fundamentally every single word, the word of God, or Jesus, or whichever one, because the agnostic Christians, they had a problem with this God and Jesus are the same person, because they acknowledge that this cannot be. Jesus is a prophet, basically, with divine knowledge, and Jesus tried to tell them that in the book of Thomas. Do not look to the sky, to the heavens, for it will precede you. Do not look in the oceans, for it will precede you. The Garden of Eden is upon the land, but men yet choose not to see it. Do not put me on a pedestal, for I am no more the Son of God than you are. We are brothers. That's where that comes from, brother. I have been given knowledge to come basically stop all the killing and the war that the Romans were doing, and the Genghis Khan and the whole world over belief systems. That's literally why we've drawn all these lines in the sand and claimed territories, was through beliefs, because there wasn't a law until the 17th century when America was formed. The law was the church. The church was the law. What about the Salem witch trials, which weren't just in America, by the way? So many women were murdered. And our apostle, who tried to say that we were not the center of the universe, we revolved. Basically, the sun revolved around us. He was a little off, but the only reason he escaped death was by living in solitude. Nostradamus tried to work on the anatomy and figure out health care, basically. And he had to write a mirror writing. Michelangelo had to do the same thing. Da Vinci. Joan of Arc was murdered. The Knights Templar were the first bankers that made the church rich, and who also done all the dirty work for the church and done a lot of this murdering and the Crusades. The Spanish Inquisition is also for religious Christian beliefs through Spain and Italy. And so you had two sides murdering everyone. Not even to say how terrible it was what we did to the Indians, the Native Americans. Because Christopher Columbus was a Christian. And it's really sad because also, why was the Bible put in different languages? Because only a few people had the knowledge to read and write back then. So this is where preachers came from, because they had to interpret the words which people could not read. So you had to go to a church. This is why a preacher will tell you, any denomination you go to, you don't have to come to church. They tell you that. You can talk to God at home. And yet, every corner has a church on it, at least here where I live, with someone that is ordained to speak for God. Yet, almost none of them interpret these words that, to me, are all allegories and parables. And none of them agree or give you the same interpretation, which causes what they're talking about, this arguing and dangerous kids. Well, it worked my mind for a long time because I couldn't get past this why is everybody else bad. And now that I have a reaction channel and I've talked to people all around the world, I can plainly see that we're all pretty much the same. We just go through different geographies, timelines, but we all have the same emotions. And everyone I've seen that done anything that's changed the world did not do it by standing in line and doing what they were told. They went outside the lines of reason, pushed the envelope to get a point across. Like the church eventually apologized to Aristotle hundreds of years later. And now the Catholic Church has the largest telescope on Earth. Also, the secret archives and all this do not question. Well, a confident group of people like the Christians who know what they're saying is absolutely divine truth, why would they have any problem with answering questions? How could they get mixed up in any kind of question? And I will go down here and show you the comment that I left under here. Let's see if I can blow it up. Why isn't it true? Because she said, if you say anything bad about Taylor Swift, someone will come at you. Bad things will happen. But why isn't it true that if you say anything bad about Jesus, bad things will come your way? Is it a cult-like following? Does everyone try to interpret what words mean? Are there more hands involved than Taylor Swift in the whole process? And what exactly do you mean by asking if a Christian should be listening to the music? And is it Christian-like? Well, I live in the Bible Belt section of North Carolina, and the way I see it, none of the Christians can even agree on how they feel about Christianity. My mother thinks Lutheranism is a different religion, which she does. So if you want to talk about a cult, my Lord, have mercy. Has the church and the Christian religion become a cult? From what I've read, Jesus himself said, "Do not put me on a pedestal, for I'm no more the Son of God than you are. We are all sons of God." Now, I have uncles who are preachers, which I do, and I've asked them all about all these other people around the world who are also faithful to God. They live good, faithful, religious lives. They believe in God. They believe in what God is called by the region they grew up in. No different than you probably believe in the same faction of Christianity or religion as your grandparents or parents did. Now, this is an assumption. I don't know this. I do not claim to be in any religion, although I love God. God is in my heart. I know God very well. I let God know when I'm angry. I let God know when he upsets me. This is the only way a true relationship built on love and not obedience works. I do not believe in the devil. I believe my God is almighty. Part of his plan, as you Christians say, sin. I believe evil is part of the plan. For if we did not go through tragedies and have triumphs, if we did not get sick and have to feel healing, if we did not have broken hearts and had to learn how to adapt and go on with our lives and become humble and happy, then without opposing emotions, then none of them would mean anything. So a world without sin would be emotionless. I actually apply more principles of the Christian religion to my life than I see Christians do. I do not treat anyone differently, no matter what their beliefs are. You can go to church and give 15 years of your life to Jesus' faith. Every Sunday, Sunday school, you could be a teacher, you could be a theologian. But if you decide you want to find a different way to quench your spiritual thirst, then the church will turn its back on you and tell you that you never did believe in God and you never were faithful to begin with, that those 15 years you gave them were fake. I've seen this happen. I looked my preacher in the eye, or my uncle, and asked him, if I believe in God and I'm good with God, why do I have to call him a certain name, or even him? And if Jesus and God are the same person, then why does the name God or Jesus matter? I know God gave up his only son to die for our sins. Well, if they're the same person, then that's not his son. And if he invented death, then death is not going to bother him or her. So basically, God's big plan in the Christian religion was to come down here and sacrifice himself. Basically commit suicide to fix a mistake that supposedly God can't make. We did make them, but we weren't in heaven when the war broke out. I did not cast a spear into his side. But the church has done far worse to people throughout centuries now, tortured and burned and stoned and destroyed people's lives. It feeds on their emotions when they're vulnerable and promises them something it cannot deliver. That person can only find God on their own. No interpreter has the authority to speak for God. But there's one on every corner that supposedly has the authority to tell everyone else what God is speaking. This is a cult, and it makes more money tax-free than any entity on the planet. It answers to no one, tells everyone what to do, and threatens them with eternal damnation. That is not love. This is not understanding. This is not salvation. This is a dictator and a communist God who wants obedience over everything else and will kill and destroy the entire planet if he does not get it. That is not my God. So, I have this on my arm. Because I believe that music is freedom. And this was used because it was free advertisement. Satanic Panic was the longest, most expensive trial in American history. And there was never one shred of evidence. Never. The book, what's her name remembers, that got all the daycare workers in trouble because they were planting memories in kids' heads with this memory retrieval thing. And come to find out, it was all bullcrap because there never was a shred of evidence. So it was total chaos for no reason. Hellfire and brimstone, like the witch trials. People going crazy. There was never any animal sacrifice. And there's very few musicians that actually practice Satanism. And Anton LaVey, who developed the Church of Satan, actually, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo in a book. There was nothing nefarious. Actually, they didn't believe in the devil at all. Aleister Crowley was probably the worst because this guy wasn't. Ozzy Osbourne is one of the most humble people I've ever seen. So, here you go. Oh, sorry. The Army and the Swifties, because the one thing I've been saving. So, as Tulpan, we have had a lot of this religious persecution. So, I made a song eulogy. And obviously, it was about Jesus. I mean, listen, he had a lot to say. He had a lot of nothing to say. We'll miss him. He had a lot to say. He had a lot of nothing to say. We'll miss him. We're going to miss him. So long. We wish you well. You told us how you weren't afraid to die. Well, so long. Don't cry or feel too down. Not all martyrs see divinity, but at least you tried. You were standing above the crowd, had a voice that was strong and loud. We'll miss him. Ranting and pointing his finger at everything but his heart. We'll miss him. We're going to miss him. No way to recall what it was that you had said to me, like I care at all. But it was so loud, you sure could yell. You took a stand on every little thing, and so loud. You could be the one that saves me from my own existence. Warren, wild child, might chill. 912. These are like whispered lyrics. Yes, standing above the crowd, he had a voice that was strong and loud. And I swallowed his facade because I'm so eager to identify with someone above the ground, someone who seemed to feel the same, someone prepared to lead the way, and someone who would die for me. Will you now? Would you die for me? Don't you effing lie. Don't you step out of line. Don't you effing lie. You claimed all this time that you would die for me. Why then are you so surprised when you hear your own eulogy? Come down, get off your effing cross. We need the effing space to nail the next full martyr. To ascend, you must die. You must be crucified for our sins and our lives. Goodbye. Now, there's no questioning that was about Jesus, right? Well, come to find out, it was about L. Ron Hubbard, who created Scientology with the cross. Said he would die for the cause. Every one of those lyrics applied to L. Ron Hubbard has nothing to do with Jesus Christ at all. That goes to show you the power of interpretation. And that was very purposeful. Well, for one, L. Ron Hubbard was a sci-fi author who started a cult. I need a breathing treatment, so sorry this is taking so long. Taylor Swift, you have done nothing wrong. And I think you're cool. There you go. there is a connection between Tool and Taylor that no one has seen or pointed out. It has nothing to do with who had a number one spot. It has to do with freedom of speech and musical freedom. Much love, mental health is real. I did not make this to judge anyone. I'm only pointing out the things that I've seen in my life and the fact that everyone, Christian, tells me that what I feel in my heart for God is fake. It doesn't seem like anyone cares what I think about God if I don't sign my name on top of a religion. So, much love, everybody. Have a good one. Love permeates the universe. I think we all transcend after death, but if we don't, I'm not hating my life. I'm appreciative for what I have. I'm not going to bitch about the breath I can't breathe. Be thankful for what I can. A lot of people didn't make it this far. So, much love. Music is your best support group, as OGO would say.